Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Destiny Petchner, reporting for G-Star News. Today I am sitting here with Mr. Tim Yancey. He's a paranormal investigator and has made appearances on A Haunting and Supernatural. You may recognize him.
Well, thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You've been interviewed by Discovery's A Haunting, and you've been on the show. How has that changed your life?
It was really tough to do that show because, telling a story like that, a lot of times people will look at you like you're lying, it's a hoax, you're making it up, or you're crazy, something like that. So we really had to think about what we were getting into before we decided to do this. Luckily for us, Discovery Channel treated our story with dignity. They treated it with respect, and they did a good job with it. I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Throughout your experiences as a child, how did your family connect and feel about the past?
My parents passed away. My dad in 2000, my mom in 2009. And unfortunately, we never really connected as a family unit. There was just too much stuff that got in the way. It's how we lived our lives. My brother's still alive. He lives in Melbourne, Florida, about 2 hours away from here. We see each other very rarely, holidays, that type of thing. But as far as a family unit, it's pretty dysfunctional. We never really connected. Today, my family, my wife Trish, our son Gabriel, and Julie, we're very connected. We stay very close-knit. We work very hard at maintaining a positive family lifestyle because it's one of those things that helps alleviate the stuff that was happening to us.
After your appearance on A Haunting, I've noticed you've become pretty famous in the paranormal world. How do you feel about your fame?
I think that probably what people appreciate from us more than anything else is this practical and realistic way that we approach this stuff. Investigators who are in the field for a long time had a notion, well, they had a Hollywood version of how to deal with violent hauntings, the images of Roman Catholic priests coming in doing these solemn exorcisms and house clearings, things like that, where Trish and I have been able to meet with several of these groups since our appearance on A Haunting, and we've developed some pretty practical and more realistic ways of dealing with this. It's not always a demon that's in somebody's house. Sometimes it's easier for a kid to say there's a ghost in my room than to admit that they've been cutting themselves, or that there's a parent who's coming in and doing bad things at night. Far too often that's the reality of what this is, and so those other models don't work with that. We've been really blessed to be able to reach out to the paranormal community and probably give them a different toolkit to work with, and that's what we're most proud of.
Most people would run from their past with the paranormal world. Why do you continue it?
I'm not proud of the past that my brother and I lived through, but from that, we know that there are other people who are going through the same thing. There are other people who are frightened to sleep in their homes tonight, or children who are scared to be in their own beds. That's the type of thing that motivates Trish and I to do what we do, to try to help them through that, because we've been there. That's been a real blessing for us.
You seem to live by the quote, "It's not the house that's haunted, it's the people." What does this mean to you?
It wasn't the house that was haunted. We were haunted. So many times it's easier to point the finger and place the blame on something else. It was the house. It was this person. Things that creep up in our lives, negative things, we tend to blame on somebody else. And what really got us over the hurdle of this and back to a place of balance and center in our lives and alleviating the haunting that we were going through was realizing that we had to do the work. That this was about us. It wasn't the house. This thing had targeted us as a family, and we had to do the work to get back to a place of positive energy, of balance, and center in our lives.
Based on your experiences, how do you feel about frauds in the industry?
Well, it's tough for me to answer that because of the way the question is posed. Frauds in the industry. Of course, there's charlatans. There's frauds. There are people who are just outright in this for all the wrong reasons. It bothers me quite a bit because, for me, you don't get to make fun of the things that I experienced as a child and the trauma and the stuff that my brother and I went through. That's not an area that I'm comfortable making fun of. Knowing that there's kids and families out there who are going through the same thing tonight, and yet there are people who would diminish that, so to speak, can be very upsetting for me. There are television shows that are out there now that portray so much more of the investigation and the investigators than the actual stories. And some of them have faked evidence on television shows. Some of them have not been dignified members of the paranormal community. And that's upsetting for me. What I would like to see in some of these paranormal shows is the accredited people who are doing this work get some recognition. You have prominent psychologists in the field, Dr. Barry Taff, Susan Blackmore from the UK, who is degreed, who teaches at university, Grover Krantz in the field of Bigfoot and cryptozoology. These are all educated college professors who are accredited and teach at university, yet you don't see them on television. What you see is something like the hillbillies on Mountain Monsters. That can really, if you're someone who has experienced this stuff, it can be quite upsetting.
Aside from spirits, what are your views on extraterrestrials and mythical creatures such as Bigfoot or Yeti?
I am out on that. You know, I think that if there was such a thing as a Bigfoot by now, we probably would have had evidence of it. I don't know that I buy into that. But then again, I'm the guy that walks around telling people I saw a ghost. So I don't know how to answer that. I keep an open mind on it. Aliens, extraterrestrials, you know, there's so many people who have said they've made contact with this stuff. We see the stuff in the skies. We've all seen the films, the footages of things that we don't understand. The Patterson film, for instance. So I'm going to keep an open mind on that. I've interviewed dozens of people in the field. Alien abductees, I know Travis Walton. I know and have talked with the people who were around the Patterson film footage. And they seemed honest and they seemed credible. So who's to say their story is any different from mine? Maybe we're all crazy, or maybe, just maybe, there's something to this. So I'll keep an open mind.
Do you see your career as a radio host and paranormal investigator furthering throughout the career?
I don't know. Right now, our radio show is in hiatus, Encounters Live. It's something that I enjoy doing, but for me, I've spent years in the paranormal field, 35, 40 years now doing this stuff. And I think that what I really look forward to now, I'm married, got kids, I think I'm enjoying that side of life a little bit more now. I don't feel the need to really get out there and just push my agenda, so to speak. For years and years, we wanted to let people know that, hey, this is our story and this stuff is real and it exists, and let's talk about it. Let's open up avenues of discussion. Let's learn what we can about this and collect data. For me, that's not so important anymore because I think the word's gotten out now, and people in droves are concentrating more and more on how to help families who are going through this, data collection, looking at evidence, looking at video, analyzing audio tapes, and trying to find out more about what this stuff is. So I think my job is done here. I look forward now to being that guy that has a family, relaxes, and just has some fun with life.
The night the episode aired, you were sitting here with your friends and family watching the episode. Do you feel they over-exaggerated it or did a good job?
You were here when that happened. And it was a real treat. We made it a celebration. We invited lots of people over. We had a party. We all sat and watched the episode. You know, I didn't know what we were going to see because I didn't get to see it before it aired. So I saw it along with everybody else. And it was scary. It made me nervous. But watching the episode and seeing how they put it together, sure, there were some sanitized moments. There were some Disney versions of what really happened there. It was a tough thing to go through. But to see how they handled it, for me, I liked it. I enjoyed it. And, you know, it's just another little pebble that goes in the pond and the ripples start to go out that maybe this stuff is real. Maybe it's something we need to talk about and not feel like you're so all alone in the world if this stuff is happening to you. One of the things that happens for people that go through this stuff is that they begin to isolate themselves one from another. They're thinking, man, I must be crazy. I'm not going to talk about this, because people do get ridiculed that talk about this. You have to be very careful if you're going to put an episode out there like that of what employers may think about such a thing, what your friends might feel. I had to think about family. You know, my kid goes to school. What's he going to get treated like at school when his friends see this? That type of thing. So the show overall was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing it and doing the interviews. They did tremendous amount of research on it. We worked for months and months on the storyline that they presented. And overall, it was good.
You're now reporting for the Autism Channel. How is that working out for you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I enjoy broadcasting. I really do. And to get in a studio, a local studio here with professional equipment, professional people, and report on a topic that I think is very important in this day and age, it's a real blessing in my life. A lot of the interns there are people and kids who are on the spectrum. And to meet them and just see who they are and how they shine as individuals, it's really been an eye-opener for me, and I learn a lot from them. So it's all good. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Well, this concludes this interview for tonight. Thank you so much for having me.